Good afternoon. Welcome to the Big Show. The Big Show comes at you every single day, right about 5 o'clock, maybe a little bit after. And we try and wrap up whatever we are talking about when it comes to Pittsburgh sports. Obviously, we usually start with the Steelers. We will get to the Steelers in a minute because we've got a really interesting topic to discuss. But I would be remiss if I didn't also add that the most Pirate thing ever has happened. And that is they went out and they basically swept the Dodgers a few weeks ago, and everybody got real excited, and we were hearing about Donnie Kelly and his over 500 or close to 500 record and all the other stuff. And guess what? In the 4 series since they've played against the Dodgers, they've got swept 3 times, and they've lost 11 out of 12 games. Now, you might be upset about this and might say that you're really in a bad place because of it. I'm telling you this. It's one of these things where nowadays you should probably root for this, to be honest. And I think that it's one of those things where, look, you should be rooting for this. And you should be one of these things where if you're a Pirates fan, what you didn't want to happen was you didn't want them to, finish strong, because then they could convince themselves about, oh, we're close, we're close. And that's the thing I would tell you when it comes to the Pirates. They love to play that game, don't they? We're close. We are, very close to winning. We're very close to, contending. We're very close to this and all this other good stuff. Well, you're not. You've lost 11 of 12. And now that should end any discussion. You're guaranteed that you're going to lose more games than you have the last 2 years in year 6. So that's where we're at right now. The Pirates, to me, it is really, really, really important for the Pirates to lose, 5 of their last 7 games or whatever it is. That's just, to me, what you need if you're a Pirates fan. Period. Now let's get to the Steelers, because that's really what we're talking about. By the way, game's always on at Archie's. Get down to Archie's on Carson Street. Archie's, home of 80-cent wings Monday through Thursday. Home of the Paul Zeise grilled cheese sandwich, also the Game Time app. Get on the Game Time app. Download it if you want. The best place to go buy tickets and be able to buy tickets at a good price, at a reasonable price, and be able to go through and get last-minute tickets and all the other good stuff, that Game Time app. Download the Game Time app. Use the promo code PG Sports, and you will be able to buy the tickets that you need to buy at a good place. One of the best parts about the Game Time app, very simple. Very, very simple. It's the price that you see on the screen is the price that you will pay. There's no fees, because the fees are included. So if you see a $50 ticket on the screen, go on the Game Time app, unlike the other apps, it's actually going to be $50, period. Now then, one of the things that Steeler fans pride themselves on and all this other good stuff is the fact that, well, we every year are we are a team that's in the playoffs or close to the playoffs. We haven't had a non-losing season since, 2004 or 2003 or whatever it was, 2001, whatever year it was. Every year we've had 500 record or better. Everybody else, they've all dealt with losing records, but not us. And I've contended quite often that that's one of the reasons why you pick in the mid-20s every time, or 20 or 20 to 23 or whatever every year. and you're never able to really go get the quarterback you want. I bring that up because I look at New England. And yeah, they've had a couple of miserable seasons in a row. But in 2023, guess what happened? In 2023, they were able to use the third pick overall after, in 2023, they went 4-13. They had the third pick overall to go get Drake Maye. Now, I don't know if Drake Maye is the truth or not, but I do know this. He looks to me like he's a pretty good quarterback. He looks to me like he's going to have an opportunity to be a pretty good quarterback for a long time for the Patriots. Looks to me like he's going to have a shot as he gets better, as the team around him gets better, to maybe be the next guy that gets them into contention. And that's what we've talked about with the Steelers, is what they've been missing. That's what they've been missing. They don't have that guy. And because they don't have that guy and haven't been able to draft that guy, it is one of those things where, you know what? If you don't have that guy in place, guess what? You're not winning anything. And the Steelers don't have that guy. Period. They don't have that guy. And since they don't have that guy, guess what? I think that it's going to be really, really, really another 3 or 4 years of being 8-9 or 9-8 or whatever and losing in the playoffs and until the Steelers actually get to a point where they have a chance to be in contention. I think that is one of those things. Okay, someone named Jeff, who clearly doesn't have his ears cleaned out and didn't hear what I said. The Steelers never had a chance to draft Drake Maye. That's not what I said. They had a chance, if they had a losing season, to be in the top 5 or top 6, and maybe they get their guy. Please stop, is what I'm telling you. That's what I'm talking about. The Steelers have never been able to get their guy because they are always 9-8. And there's a bunch of Steeler fans out there who would probably rather be 9-8 every year and be 9-8 or 10-7 every year and get their doors blown off in the playoffs. But hey, we had a non-losing season than have a couple of losing seasons that lead to you being able to draft your quarterback. Period. And now that they have Rodgers this year, guess what? They're going to win 9 or 10 games. And they'll be drafting 22 or 23. And next year they'll be out trying to find their next Rodgers or Russell Wilson or Mitch Trubisky. That's the point, Jeff. You understand that now, Jeff? That's the point, Jeff. The point is, you're never going to draft a guy who could be your franchise quarterback unless you get extremely lucky, like, say, the Eagles, who got a guy in the second round, or obviously the Patriots who got Tom Brady. But for the most part, you got to draft your guy high. And the Steelers never draft high enough because they're always so concerned about this non-losing season stuff. I've said it many, many times. There are probably Steelers fans who would tell you, oh, I don't know if I would want the Eagles were 4-13 a few years ago. I don't know. The Steelers at least have never had a losing record over the last 8 seasons. And I don't know if I want to go through a 4-13. Even though the Eagles have won now 2 Super Bowls and been to a third in 8 or 9 years since the Steelers last won a playoff game. Some of you are so delusional when it comes to the Steelers, you can't even think straight. But I'll help you out. Since 2010, this team has won 3 playoff games. Since 2010, that's 15 years. They actually had their franchise quarterback for a number of those years and didn't know what to do with him, obviously. But at the end of the day, I look at the Patriots and I say they probably have a better chance of being a contender closer and quicker than the Steelers because they have their guy. They actually have a quarterback who you might be able to build around. Again, small sample size. So far, he looks okay. He looks like somebody who can grow into a pretty good quarterback. Am I declaring him a superstar? No. Am I saying he's one of the best? No. Am I saying he's better than what the Steelers have been trotting out for the last however many years? Probably. But that's not saying much. It's just ridiculous. So I'm just telling you, when I look at the Patriots and I look at the Steelers, I say to myself, I think the Patriots are a little bit closer because they have a quarterback in place. And I ask Steeler fans this all the time. Would you take a 3-16 or a 3-13 or 3-14 season? Would you take a 3-14 season if it meant you got to draft a guy in the top 5 that might be your quarterback of the future? Or would you rather be 9-8 and get your doors blown off in the first round like they do? If there's anybody that would choose 9-8, I can't help you. That's a part of the problem. Because a lot of the Steelers, and inside the Steelers offices, that's how they see it too. That's how they see it too. They would rather be a team that is, 9-8, so they can convince themselves, oh, well, guess what? We're close. If you make the playoffs, you're close. That's just the way it is. So I don't think that, it's way out of the realm of the, realistic to suggest that the Steelers probably should do a better job of figuring out what they're going to do long-term at quarterback. Because every year they try and piece something together, it ain't working. Period. It ain't working. It never is working. It's just it's just one of these things where, again, we're going to bring up Tom Brady, who's the absolute exception to the rule. The absolute exception to the rule. I mean, at the end of the day, I look at it and I say, you have to really be realistic. You get one of these quarterbacks in the top 10, you have a much better opportunity to win and build around. Period. And I think that's the key here. So I look at that and I basically say the Steelers probably are never going to take a step forward unless they have a season where they take a step back. And nobody around here seems to want that to happen. They'd rather be 9-8 and lose in the playoffs. Period. That's just the way it is. So I'm just going to tell you, I feel like we have to basically figure this out. One way or the other, we've got to figure it out. And that's where I believe, honestly, the Steelers need to figure out what they're going to do from that standpoint. What are you going to do? It's just really where it's at. But they've got to figure out their quarterback position, because as long as they're trying to piece together these teams with these veteran guys and cherry-picking quarterbacks and, coming up with guys, they're never going anywhere. They're just not. And that's especially true now that their defense isn't great. I mean, for them to win this year, their defense needed to be great. I don't know if it's great. Doesn't look like it to me. But at the end of the day, it feels like it has an opportunity, to get better. But I don't know if they're great. Now, one of these guys on these comments asked me, back in July, you wrote about how good the Steelers' lines are going to be. You're right. So far, they've stunk. How about that, Rob? So far, they've stunk. Do I think they're going to stink the rest of the year? Maybe, but I doubt it. But so far, they've stunk. It's 2 weeks into the season. The defensive line doesn't even have its full complement of players. The offensive line, I think Broderick Jones actually got a little bit better. If he keeps getting a little bit better within 3 or 4 weeks, he should be really ready to go. Troy Fautano, I don't know what to tell you. He's been bad. Maybe he'll get better. Maybe he won't. but the offensive and defensive lines have stunk. So what do you want me to say? That's been a big part of the story. It's been a big part of the problem. It's been a big part of what's going on with them. And I think that's where we're at with the Steelers lines. They've got to get better. Again, Broderick Jones, to me, has gotten better. He has gotten better. From week 1 to week 2, he was improved. Was he good enough to where they need him to be? No, but he improved. And so now he needs to improve week 2 to week 3, and then week 3 to week 4. And that's what you do with young guys. And like I've said many, many times, if you look at their offensive line, okay, look at their offensive line. 4 of the 5 guys are within their first or second season. And essentially, Broderick Jones is back to being a rookie because this is his first year on the left side. Troy Fautanu didn't play last year, so he's essentially a rookie too. That's really what it is. That's the problem. They're young, and they've got to get better. Period. As an aside, if you're a Steeler fan, you've probably followed the work of Dale Lolley. He's worked for the Washington Observer reporter for a lot of years covering the Steelers. And these last few years, he actually worked for the Steelers. A lot of you are probably familiar with his work. He does some stuff on DVE, all that other stuff. Sad news today. And, of course, if you're on social media, you saw it. But, he had been battling cancer. Today he succumbed to it, and he died, age 56, way, way too young. Dale was always a really good guy, very much somebody who was always generous with his time, and somebody who really devoted a lot of his time to youth sports and things of the such, along with, being a guy who's been in, the media for a long, long time covering the Steelers. So sad day for the Steelers. Sad day for those of us who cover the Steelers, and for all of you out there who might be familiar with his work. Sad day for everybody really involved, and obviously rest in peace and condolences to his family. So Dale Lolley, 56 years old, way too young, especially when I'm 55. Way, 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 way too young. So it's just it's a shame. I'm sad. I'm really sad. It's just going to be, a tough couple of days for the people around the Steelers offices and the people that worked with him and knew him the best. So Dale Lolley, rest in peace. Back to the Steelers. I think that, Derrick Harmon is back on the field. He's back on the field. He's practicing. He was limited today, but at least he's back on the field. And I would tell you, I really, really believe in so many ways, okay, that I really believe this. He's a guy that really could be a big part of the equation. He could be a big part of the equation. That's what I would tell you. Because they need him and his size. They need him to be that guy that's going to take on double teams. That's going to be the guy that's going to be able to, occupy blockers, free up Cam Heyward and some of the other guys. Also keep some of the linemen off of the middle, the inside linebackers, which is a big part of the problem in the run defense as well. The inside linebackers aren't really that good at shedding blocks. You plug somebody like Derrick Harmon in there, and all of a sudden he's going to start eating up a lot of those blocks, eating up a little bit of the issue that we're talking about when it comes to the run defense. So, yeah, I wrote that the lines, that the Steelers would have a chance to win, but at the line. But you know what? We need to see Derrick Harmon, period. And that's where I would tell you, it is going to be interesting to see how he changes the game for them. That's really what it comes down to. I don't know that he's going to be a savior, but I do think that Derrick Harmon is going to be a guy who makes a difference. And if he makes a difference, to me, then all of a sudden, he's able to maybe eat up some blocks and stuff. I think that's going to be a big part of it. But that's the big thing to me. We have to see him do it. But that's why they drafted him. They drafted him to be a run stopper. They did. They drafted him to be a run stopper. And if he's going to be a run stopper, that's where I think you can really say, wow, he is going to be a difference. He's going to be a difference maker. Now then, the other thing is, talked a little bit about Jaylen Warren and the run game. It all is related to the offensive line. And I think if Jaylen Warren and the run game can get going, boy, they're going to have an opportunity. Maybe the offense can get going. And then you have a chance to maybe preserve Aaron Rodgers, because I don't think Aaron Rodgers can take as many hits as he's taken and make it through the entire season. I could be wrong. I really could. But I don't think I am. I don't think I am. And I think that is really the issue to me. The issue is, I think that if you look at him, he's the kind of guy that if he can get some space, he can make some bigger plays in the run game. He has done that before. Those chunk plays that they don't get enough of. He can be that guy. He really can. But I think part of it is he needs space to do that. And we saw, what happens when you throw him the ball a little bit in open field, what happens? He gets some and makes some things happen because he's got probably better speed than you think. And he's got better, footwork than you think. And the other thing is he's pretty good at running through tackles. So to me, we saw that little screen or swing pass or whatever it was. We saw him go, 70 yards or whatever. Most of that was on him just making moves. That's really, really, really what I would tell you. So it is just going to be now, a matter of everything coming back down to this offensive line. Period. This offensive line needs to get better. And if it gets better, there's a whole lot of other things that could happen. Game's always on at Archie's. Get down to Archie's. Archie's, home of 80-cent wings. Monday through Thursday, home of the Paul Zeise grilled cheese sandwich. So get down to Archie's. Have a good meal. Tell them I sent you. Tell them that say hello to him and tell him you want to try my grilled cheese sandwich along with some incredible wings. That's what you do when you go to Archie's and have a good time. Just as an aside now, Pitt loses a game they should have won. They had the game won. They had the game won a couple of times, actually, and lost it. All I'm going to say about Pitt is this. Pat Narduzzi has been the coach for 10 years. He has actually done a really good job in so many ways. He's done a really good job of building a program that is reasonably sustainable. But he's got to win more games. I mean, all the stuff he does in terms of recruiting, all the NFL guys, all the fact that the players don't seem to ever get in trouble. They seem to be pretty good academically, which I know doesn't matter anymore. But the bottom line is there's so many things that you love about the program that he's built, except for they don't win enough. Period. I just don't understand that, but it's true. They lose too many games that they're not supposed to lose. And look, I give credit to West Virginia. They played hard. They played tough. They did everything, that they're supposed to do. But at the end of the day, guess what? At the end of the day, okay, They've got their quarterback is just okay. Their running back is just okay. Their line isn't very good. Their defense isn't great. They won that game with a lot of heart, but West Virginia looks to me like a 4-8 type of team. Pitt needs to do a better job. They can't lose those games all the time. They can't continue to lose those games. You know, I've said it many times. One of the biggest differences between James Franklin and Pat Narduzzi, James Franklin never loses games he's not supposed to lose. He wins games he's supposed to win. His problem is like getting over the top and winning those playoff caliber games against top 10 teams. But when it comes to the difference between him and Narduzzi, the biggest one is he does not lose games he's supposed to lose. Period. Just doesn't. So I think it's really important, for Pat Narduzzi to figure out how to start winning some of these games that he loses. Because really, this is year 11. In 8 of the first 10 years, guys lost 5 or more games. That's, in college football, not really ideal. It's just kind of good enough, but not good enough. He's got to do better. He's got to do better. And I think that's, what you get out of now. They have, a week off, and then they start their ACC schedule. Obviously, because they have all their ACC games left, their season's not over with one loss to West Virginia. But, boy, is that a terrible loss. And there's too many years where we say that's a terrible loss. Period. And I'll say this about Penn State. We have no idea anything about Penn State because their first three games have been exhibition games. And that's part of the problem, I think, with college football. Too many games, are just played in the beginning of these seasons against nobodies that it's silly. I'd rather see them play 10 games and get rid of a couple of these games where they just kill people who are terrible. You can say whatever you want to say about Notre Dame. Yeah, they're 0-2. But they're 0-2 because they played 2 real teams. If they had played, the games that Penn State had played, they'd be 3-0 too. But Notre Dame, they've lost by a total of like 5 points, I think is what it is. And my only point with that is it's really, really hard when you look at Notre Dame's schedule. They lost by 3 points and by 1 point. So they've lost by a total of 4 points to 2 teams, Miami and Texas A&M, who right now, Miami is 4th and Texas A&M is 10th. You know a lot more about them because they played real competition. Period. I just think that's where we're at with it. Anyway, also the Penguins, just real quickly, the Penguins, they get started, I think, next week is training camp. Actually, tomorrow, I think, or it's coming up in the next few days. Obviously, it's a rebuilding year for them, but they still have the problem that they've had in the last 5 years or 4 years, and that's just their old guys will dominate and dictate how they play. It'll be interesting to see how a new coach works that and see what happened. Sidney Crosby, by the way, basically said stop asking him about getting traded because he's not interested in it. And he's not interested in the discussion. He's not interested in getting traded. He wants to be a Penguin for life and everything else. So that's really what is, driving the beginning of this Penguin season. Clearly, the Marc-Andre Fleury story is a good one. But to me, it's more about Sidney Crosby saying basically he wants to stay. Because if he stays, the other guys are going to say, well, I'm not waiving my no-trade clause. And I think the Penguins will be kind of in a place where they're just kind of good enough, but not good enough. And that, again, that is like the worst place to be. You want to be, if you're going to be bad, you want to be terrible and give yourself a chance to get the first overall pick. That's really what it comes down to. We'll do it again tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit about the AFC North and some other stuff. Until then, enjoy your evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.